Now, let me be quite clear about one thing. Under my watch, nothing will come to this parliament for consideration and passage without honorable members having an opportunity to read, digest, and understand what it is that they are passing. That is fundamental. That is absolutely fundamental. You are members of parliament, you bear responsibility for things that you enact, both individually and collectively. And I want all of you, when you are enacting any law or passing any agreement, to do so against the backdrop that you've done due diligence to that document, that you've taken your time to understand its full import before proceeding. The reason being that I don't want any of you to come and say "I," and then when you go out, you say I never knew that I was doing what I'm now being asked about. So, let an opportunity be given to all of us to read these documents carefully, digest them, and then pass them. Only after we have appreciated them and understood them and their full implications. On that understanding, I would ask that this particular agreement be held over for another day. But I want to give the minister an assignment to go and do quietly and to seek further advice from the legal department. Mr. Minister, I draw your attention specifically to Article 6. And now I'm going to wear two caps as your speaker and as an international lawyer. I want to read to you what two provisions say under Article 6. And I'll tell you what my understanding is. The first paragraph reads, Moroccan lawyers registered in the Moroccan Bar Associations may be authorized by the competent Leone authorities to support or represent opponents in all Leone courts. It has very far-reaching implications. And then the converse is also provided, which is in the second paragraph. Also, it says, Leone lawyers registered in the Leone Bar Associations may be authorized by the competent Moroccan authorities to support or represent opponents before all Moroccan courts. Now, you might think there is some reciprocity here.
There is not.
But let me tell you, for us, Mr. Minister, I would describe this as mere verbiage. Mere verbiage. I wouldn't say meaning. I'll just say verbiage. Why do I say this? It's because we have a law in our country that you cannot represent anyone as a lawyer in the courts of Sierra Leone unless you satisfy certain conditions as a lawyer. So this agreement by itself cannot qualify a Moroccan lawyer to come and practice in our courts. You've still got to go through the rigors and the provisions and fulfill the provisions of the Legal Practitioners Act. So this was why I asked, did the lawyers in the law officers department give you proper advice? Now, it may well be that this is decoration, that they know. Fortunately, the word may, not shall, is used. So it is just verbiage. It's just decoration. Because this wording by itself cannot qualify a Moroccan lawyer to appear before our courts as a lawyer. If that is what is the intention, no harm is done. No harm is done. That is why I say it's mere value. But if really you want to make a substantive agreement with an objective in mind, then I don't think that objective can be achieved by this point. But, Mr. Minister, I don't know whether you want to respond or you just want to take note of what I said and ponder over it. Over to you.
For the body to actually seek advice from is the General Legal Council, not the Law Officer Department. The Law Officer Department will not give you any sound advice on this.
No, I'm afraid not. I'm afraid not. You have no. Let us be clear. Let us be clear. The job of the Law Officers Department is to provide legal advice to the government. And the minister is part of the government. So if there is any legal question,
your best place is law officers.
Okay, his first recourse should be the law officers.
Mr. Speaker, thank you, and I want to thank your wisdom in referring this particular agreement to further scrutiny. And you are very admirable stature of a person, the Speaker of our Holy House, a Cambridge graduate, a man that has conventional mastery over the natural law, the Speaker of this Parliament. I want to thank you for your wisdom. I have had the privilege to listen to some of the members of Parliament on this particular agreement, and it seems to me some come with some experience from the judiciary of Sierra Leone. I will definitely consult with the Law Officers Department, not the Judicial Service, because the Law Officers Department is responsible for providing legal advice to government, and the Judicial Council is responsible for the conduct and admittance of lawyers to the bar. Two clear and distinct functions. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, I like your selective reference to the verb may. May. Mr. Speaker, to support or represent opponents in Moroccan court or vice versa. There are laws in this country, and if the law prevents a Moroccan lawyer that is a member of the Bar of Morocco to practice in Sierra Leone, that will mean they will not practice. But if they can support in the court of Sierra Leone, then that may can also give them the right to support. And what we're talking about here is not criminal matters, it's civil, commercial, and administrative matters. But with your kind counsel, I will then also agree with you that these agreements will be recapitulated and further consultation with the Attorney General's office will be held. Thank you.
Now, I don't know whether all of us have the other two agreements, whether we can proceed with those ones and ratify them today and put this first one on hold until further notice. Are we happy to proceed with the other two?
Yeah, we can proceed with the other two.
Yeah, sorry, Mr. Speaker. The one is even more contentious than this. It's talking about mutual judicial assistance in criminal matters.
Which one? No. No. Talking about convention on cyber crime.
Mr. Speaker, whether they are contested or not, that doesn't stop us from going ahead with the two. We can debate it and then we take a decision.
The other one is the Niamey Convention.
Exactly.
Mr. Speaker, before that, as a matter of procedure, I want to ask that we make reference to
Ali.
so we can properly ask for. I move that the Convention on Judicial Incorporation in civil, commercial, and administrative matters between the Kingdom of Morocco and the Republic of Sierra Leone be adjourned.
Any seconder?
I so second, Mr. Speaker.
All in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
Motion moved by Honorable Leone has been carried.
So let us get a fresh motion then from the minister with regard to the other two.
That is why you are the consultant. Not consultant.
Mr. Speaker, honorable members, this honorable House is hereby invited to ratify the following agreements which were laid on the table of the House of Parliament on Thursday, 25th, and Tuesday, 30th January 2024, respectively, Convention on Cybercrime and African Union Convention on Cross-Border Cooperation, known as the Niamey Convention.
Mr. Speaker, the minister would have to refuse this language. He would have to move and not hereby ask the House to make an amendment. He would have to move accordingly.
Yes, he's inviting us to.
He did not move.
Yeah, you get to accept agreement.
So he would have to move before we move.
I ask him to make a fresh motion.
Yes, but the language of the motion is not parliamentary.
Then please advise me.
Mr. Speaker, honorable members, be it resolved that this honorable House hereby ratifies the following agreements which were laid on the table of the House on Thursday, 25th, and Tuesday, 30th January 2024. Convention on Cybercrime, African Union Convention on Cross-Border Cooperation, Nyame. Thank you.
Honorable members, the question is that the House ratifies the following agreements as read out by the Minister, which were laid on the table of the House on Thursday the 25th and Tuesday the 30th January 2024 respectively. Any other member wishing to take the floor on these two conventions? If I see none, I'm entitled to assume that you're all happy with these two conventions and you'd like to see them ratified. Good. Active leader of the opposition. We don't need to go to a debate now. Just why not? And you go ahead.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. As previously said by the other speakers, these two conventions are not controversial, and the spirit behind each, we believe, is good. For instance, the African Union Convention on Cross-Border Cooperation, for instance, is very, I can even say, is long overdue, especially for Sierra Leone. As I speak right now, we are being affected by these cross-border disputes, disagreements for a very, very long time. I can say since Adam was evolved. We've been hearing about this Yenga issue, for instance. The issue of Yenga, I believe if we had ratified this agreement, or if this agreement would have gone to Parliament some 20, 25 years back, we ratified and diligently worked on it, I think the Yenga issue would have been a thing of the past. You know, unfortunately, the two countries also are friends for a very long time, even trade partners. You know, but unfortunately, as far as the border business is concerned, the land ownership is concerned, as Yenga, it has always been problem. Government after government. But I believe with the ratification of this agreement, with real due diligence given to it, I think it will be a thing of the past. Sierra Leone has a very long border with Guinea. Almost two-thirds of Sierra Leone borders with Guinea. I'm from Kwaledu, of which Falaba was part of it. You know, most of our border villages or communities, we use two currencies. We use the leones and we use the franc. And sometimes even farmlands. Guineans come and farm in Sierra Leone. Sierra Leoneans go and farm in Guinea. They go in the morning and come to their houses in the evening. Those cross-border areas. So with this mutual cooperation, I think that will further strengthen the amicable relationship between the two countries. And it's not just meant for only Guinea and Sierra Leone. I'm just using that one as an example. So I believe this is indeed very good. And then the one on the first convention on cybercrime. You know, this one, having gone through the agreement, I believe the main issue that is trying to address is the issue of how we treat those we perceive as foreigners, as non-citizens, residing in our country. And I believe we are all under Universal Declaration on human rights. But you will not agree with me that in certain countries like South Africa, for instance, they are not comfortable with foreigners. You know, there have been so many issues about foreigners residing in South Africa. Their human rights have been abused. I'm not indicting them, by the way, but I believe it's not limited to even South Africa. It's been practiced in other areas as well. Sierra Leone must be commended in this light anyway, because as far as my observations are concerned, we even give preference to foreigners in this country, even more than our own. Sierra Leone, we are one of the most tolerant countries, you know. So, but for other countries, it's the country first. And once they see a foreigner competing in the field of business, in the field of commerce, in the field of education, they will not tolerate you. They always see you as threat. They always fear to give you space. But with this agreement, I believe it will be enforced. Any member, any state part that agrees and ratifies, then the provisions will be enforceable. And then that will make things better. So, in my opinion, as you rightly said, we don't need more debate on this one because I think it's non-controversial. It is good for Africa. It is good for Sierra Leone. So on that note, I urge my colleagues that we ratify these two documents. And then the other that has been deferred will be brought to us later for further consideration. Thank you very much.
And now give the floor to the Deputy Leader 2.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, thank you for your sense of judgment to judiciously exercise SO 42 over the ruling of the document that you have put at bay for a fine time. I know very well that I might be comfortable with the agreement, with a strong belief that it is not controversial, but because a few of us do not want to be selfish, then we have to give opportunity to our colleagues to properly dissect that agreement very, very well. For a fine time for it to be looked at. Mr. Speaker, remembers the two agreements at hand, including Convention on Cybercrime that has to do with racism or xenophobia. Sierra Leone, in any case, should be commended. Should be commended because I really want to name countries here that has a raw characteristic of xenophobia. It will be manifested by the time of paying the house tax. If you are not, or if you fail, if you even make a delay, citizens of that particular country will pursue you. That is their hiding here and there. Sierra Leone don't do that. We are religiously tolerant. We are also tolerant in several ways. We should and we must actually commend our country. Mr. Speaker, cybercrime on this convention, realize the beauties of technology, what it has done. Technology's work is so great. I can sit on my computer overnight, I can get a degree. As long as I'm computer literate, I can go through a course. But irrespective of the several gains of technology, we still see drawbacks in technology. And when you watch carefully Article 2 and Article 3 of this particular convention, it talks of illegal access and illegal interception, which actually gives the road for it to be nabbed. It is very important. Mr. Speaker, the drawbacks of technology has caused a lot of pain on respectable citizens with dignity. And signing this agreement today, I believe it will be reduced. Mr. Minister, I'm looking forward for such an agreement to be extended to the Kingdom of Belgium. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Minister, I'm looking forward for such a fine agreement to be extended to the Kingdom of Belgium or Brussels. We have many recidivists that can cause harm with technology. The misuse of technology can cause harm, which can give room to the loss of life and property. If such an agreement is extended to the Kingdom of Belgium, where Holland is, it will go a long way to help citizens. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, on the agreement of the African Conventions on cross-border, it is important. I must recall that sometimes in 2002, the late President Kabak actually left us with a fine foundation of the establishment of CHISEC. I'm talking of Children's Security Border Guard, DISEC, and even PROSEC, which makes us security conscious. We belong to ECOWAS as a nation, and it is now extended to the AU. Mr. Speaker, it is important because it will aid trade, it will aid bilateral ties, it will even encourage direct investment between and among countries, not only ECOWAS countries, but even AU countries in other parts of Africa. This is important, Mr. Speaker. The object of this particular agreement, Article 2, clearly makes an object of promoting, facilitating, and transforming the border relationship between and among countries. This is laudable. I want to believe other parts of the country will be looking forward for this. Mr. Speaker, I admire the agreement more so in Article 15, which gives room for amendment. If Sierra Leone feels disadvantaged in the future, can come to the AU, that here am I, I'm disadvantaged at this particular moment. Why can't we adjust it? So I admire Article 15, which gives room for amendment in the future. Mr. Speaker, Parliament is doing its work. The executive has done theirs. In Sierra Leone's 1991 Constitution, Section 40, subsection 4, referring to the President as the Commander-in-Chief, during all agreements represented by the Minister, subsection 4 gives Parliament the mandate to ratify, and this is just what we are doing, ratifying an agreement between and among AU countries as well as cybercrime. I thank the contributors before me this time, and I urge and laud members of Parliament across the aisle for the speedy ratification of this particular agreement, which states African Union Convention on Cross-Border Cooperation, Dynamic Convention in short, and Convention on Cybercrime. I thank you very much.
Thank the two speakers who've taken the floor. Mr. Minister, if you have no question or concern was actually addressed to you, unless you want to say something, I will proceed and just put the question.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. I want to thank the two honorable members for their kind contribution towards in supporting these two conventions. Honorable member of the Third People's Party, the Budapest Convention is an international convention. It's not only limited to Budapest, it's an international convention. And also, I want to commend this Parliament, especially the Fifth Parliament, for making into law the Cyber Security Act of 2021, which to this convention is actually naming the baby before the bath. This convention should have been domesticated before even the enactment of that law. And so, so we want to thank Parliament for doing that. And also, I believe this will help us to deal with crimes that are committed virtually, especially when it will provide the medium for actions to be taken, regardless where those who commit these crimes will be located geographically. And on before this honorable member, even though we are not discussing the paper on Morocco, yes, on Morocco, but I think it's a very kind concern. But let me inform you, it's a rule when you go to a country where English is not the medium of education. Everywhere you go through a pedagogic center where you learn the language for minimum of 6 months and maximum of 9 months before you enter university. I did that myself when I went to study overseas. It is still happening, sir. What is happening, sir? I'm the Minister of Foreign Affairs, sir. It's still happening. When you go to Morocco, what is happening is, like you stated, sir, people apply for these scholarships with false certificates that they are speakers of the French language. And when they go to Morocco, they don't even know the alphabet of French. And so 6 months, in their estimation, may not be adequate for them to properly fit into the education system, the tertiary education system. So I think that is why we have a foreign service academy where French, a UN language, is taught. So we're encouraging people before you apply to these countries for education, if you're not very talented in languages, you can come to the Foreign Service Academy and do the basic, the elementary aspect of languages. But yes, these scholarships are given, and we expect people who apply for these scholarships to be ready for education in those countries where English is not spoken as a first language. But the government of Morocco, like all the other countries that are providing scholarship that are not Anglophone countries, they provide pedagogic opportunities for the learners to have pre-university education in the languages concerned before they enter university. On that note, I want to thank all those who contributed, and Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, honorable members, be it resolved that this honorable House here ratifies the following agreements which were laid on the table of the House on Thursday 25th and Tuesday 30th January 2024, respectively: Convention on Cybercrime, African Union Convention on Cross-Border Cooperation, and the Niamey Convention. Thank you.
Honorable members, the question is that this House ratifies the agreements which were laid on the table of the House on Thursday the 25th and Tuesday the 30th of January 2024 respectively, namely Convention on Cybercrime and the African Union Convention on Cross-Border Cooperation, Niamey Convention. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
Motion by the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation has been ratified.